That I have another human being inside of me. It's just that I have another human being inside of me.
Then there's the movie The Pod Generation, a world where pregnancy is outsourced. Babies are grown in artificial wombs. Motherhood is considered outdated, ineffective, and emotional. That's not fiction. That's where we're going. Because we've made real motherhood too inconvenient for the culture to care about. Because it doesn't just begin at conception. It doesn't end at birth. But here in the West, we treat the womb like a transaction, the family like a performance.
The right to decide what our bodies are able to do, when we want, with whom, and so on.
President Trump talking about how he wants to make IVF free for everyone.
I'm announcing today in a major statement that under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment, fertilization for women.
83% of the babies that are conceived via IVF end up dying. Could you share more about that study?
They are frozen indefinitely, potentially, killed, or they're donated to research.
Effectively, it's going to be human experimentation and they're going to die.
Yes.
It's $60,000 on average to achieve one live birth for IVF.
IVF treatment. Because we want more babies, to put it very nicely.
When we talk about reproductive rights, is the basics of it. Our female part of the world, choice to decide whether or not and how they will have family and children.
Regardless of how much pain these people have caused us, I wish you well.
I wish you well. In hell.
I really
burn in hell.
Let's try to.
But to offer it so casually.
Objectively, you're choosing potential death for those other 9 embryos. And so again, objectively, that is not a choice for life.
It's our right. We won't give up this fight.
Like returning a product to a store. If your version of life stops at birth, you are not pro-life. You are pro-control, pro-moral theatrics, pro-suffering in private so we don't have to witness it. So again, I just gave birth. And I'm speaking now because I don't want to do this dance of silence anymore, and I don't want any other woman to have to do it. We cannot claim to love life and leave its creators to die in the shadows, a re-echoing of consciousness into form. You want to be pro-life? Then be pro-rest. Be pro-meals, pro-mental health, pro-paid leave, pro-safe housing.
College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists and the American Academy of Pediatrics both recognize the female cycle as the fifth vital sign of health that women should learn to monitor beginning in adolescence. And so our society would do well to recognize all women are smart and capable of learning to observe the signs of their cycle and using that information to interpret whether or not they may be fertile or may not be.
Once you realize that you can't get pregnant every single day, it's like, why am I taking a pill every day if it's not even a possibility every day? Do you know what I'm saying? So once I realized that, I was like, you know what? Like, I feel like doctors are so quick to be just like, yeah, and like not even like tell you like the risks, because after looking at the risks, like if you go on the internet, like there are tons of women who like have liver tumors and like growths in their livers attributed from long-term use of birth control. Like it's not even like, oh, it's a chance that it was caused. Like it was like, no, it's like a direct link. As you read, it's like, oh, like strokes and high blood pressure, stuff like that. The liver stuff isn't talked about that much, and that's what really scared me. I was like, I'm having liver issues. Liver problems linked with oral contraceptives or birth control. So I was like, you know what, this is a no-brainer. I'm going to get off the pill. I'm not going to think about it. Maybe this will help me, and maybe this will help my digestion. Because I didn't really realize like how much your liver impacts your digestion and vice versa. Results, my doctor didn't like specify anything. They were like, these levels could be a fluke, like it could just be something, you know, just like random. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just go off the pill and see what happens. And so I stopped taking the pill. I stopped taking it cold turkey. My doctor didn't say, oh, you should go off the pill. I just told them that I was thinking about doing it anyway, and then I went off of it.
What? This next side effect is one of the most researched, most well-known side effects of the pill, and that's blood clots. Most birth control pills do increase a woman's chance of developing a blood clot by 3 to 4 times.
Was started by liberal feminists in the 1970s. We had been experimented on at that point for about 10 years. They were seeing unbelievable health impacts, negative health impacts. And they went to the Senate hearing, and it was all these pharma people, and they said, how dare you have women be your guinea pigs? We are sicker than we've ever been. There's something not right with this pill. There's something you're not telling us.
For your slogans. We are not disconnected by accident. We were trained this way. It's time for people to stop making excuses and actually see the issues.
So I'm gonna add a little structure here. So the first question that I got asked a lot was, which pill were you on? So I was on Yaz for probably like 8 years, and then they switched me to the generic, which was Gianvi, and then I think maybe like 2018 or 2019 maybe, they switched me to a different generic, which they said was the exact same, but ever since they switched me to that, it was like, started with a D, it was like super long, and they're like, no, this is literally the exact same thing. It wasn't, because I started feeling so weird, and I was like, can I pay more for the Gianvi that I was on? And they're like, you can't do that. But that one started making me feel weird, and I feel like maybe that was what kind of like started it all.
You guys, the Nurses' Health Study at Harvard Med School found that the pill users are 250% more likely to have heart attacks and strokes than those who don't use the pill.
With acne, and I sought out help from a dermatologist, and the dermatologist wanted to put me on a medication that had a lot of symptoms, and it potentially could have side effects of birth defects if a woman becomes pregnant while on that medicine.
I mean, come on, you guys, we deserve better than this. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic, they studied 23 large, well-conducted studies and found that 21 of them there was an average of 44% increased risk of breast cancer in women who were taking the pill prior to their first pregnancy.
And you never think about it twice. Like, the doctor will write the script in 2 seconds because, you know, we don't want anyone having unplanned pregnancies. So
Earlier, it was maybe $3,000 to $5,000 about how to do the restorative medicine approach. What are the success rates between restorative medicine versus IVF?
Restorative reproductive medicine data, one study, their average age was 37, 5 years of infertility. About all of them had prior IVF cycles. 5% of those women had achieved live birth through IVF in the past. So he was able to do, using neofertility, he was able to achieve about a 32% chance of live birth, which is remarkable.
As good as IVF, or even better, because these are the ones that IVF didn't even work for them.
Take your temperature every single morning, you enter it to the app, and from there it creates an algorithm that determines what day you are ovulating. So red days mean stop, don't have sex, or use a condom. Or it'll give you green days, which means you're free to do it. The more you use it, the more green days you will get, because it'll know your body and your temperature fluctuations better to really determine and pinpoint your ovulation days.
Next biomarker is checking the position of your cervix. Your cervix sits at the top of your vaginal canal, and it is the entrance to your uterus. And your cervix will change position and also change softness throughout your cycle, depending on which stage of your cycle you're at. Now, if you haven't felt your cervix before, insert a clean finger or two into the vaginal canal. It kind of feels like the tip of your nose. That's what you're looking for, right at the very top of your vaginal canal, and you'll be able to feel like a tiny little hole.
So this is the endocervical canal. So you've got the ectocervix and the endocervix.
Not fertile, it will feel like the tip of your nose. It might be a little bit firm, and the hole that you can feel may feel a lot smaller. However, when you're entering your fertile window, the cervix actually sits higher up the vaginal canal, so you might find that you have to insert your fingers further in order to find it. And it's more likely to feel like, relax your bottom lip and feel the difference between that and the tip of your nose. You'll notice that the bottom lip is a lot softer, and you also might notice that the hole is a little bit more open than it was at other parts of your cycle. A higher, softer and more open cervix can indicate you're entering your fertile window. Again, these things are just designed to help sperm enter the uterus a little bit easier and to help aid conception. So you might have to check out your cycle over the space of 4 weeks or however long your cycle is, and notice the changes at different parts in order to be able to pinpoint the fertile ones. Another little side note, you might not be able to feel the hole directly into the vaginal canal, if that makes sense. It could be that you might have a tilted cervix. Nothing to worry about, it just means it's in a different position. So keep that in mind if you're trying to figure out how it all feels for the first time.
But I never did the NuvaRing or whatever, or a shot or anything like that, the patch. I had always been on the pill, and I tried different pills throughout the years, but those were the ones that I was on for the most part, that I would go back to. So it's the one that has 24 pills and then 4 placebo ones at the end.
I thought you were using birth control.
I was.
Because I just thought that birth control had a little teeny element of actual control about it. 97% effective, so therefore 3% completely bloody ineffective.
Another study, women who use the pill for 5 to 9 years have twice the risk of cervical cancer and 3 times the risk if they're using it for over 10 years. And although the risk of uterine cancer and ovarian cancer go down on the pill, there are 6 times more breast cancer in women than uterine and ovarian cancer combined.
And that's the reality for many people.
And she wanted me to get on birth control, and I insisted that I'm not sexually active. I have no need for that. And it was a constant, not really battle, but having to reaffirm every visit, I am abstinent, I do not need that. And I'm glad that this is before I even knew and really understood all the harms of birth control. I'm just glad that I knew I just don't need that in my life. And I'm glad I rejected that.